Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Today, inshallah, I'll talk about verb forms and regular and irregular verbs. What it means for a verb to be regular and what it means for a verb to be irregular. There are 5 verb forms. There are really only 4, you'll see, but there are 5 verb forms, which means that for any given verb, there are 5 different spellings. Right, for any verb in the English language, there are 5 ways to spell that verb. Okay, and it's very important. So this is just basically what different spellings of the same verb. So the verb forms are given names, and the names are kind of confusing. I kind of wish they would just be named like form 1, form 2, form 3, form 4, form 5, but they're not. But they're named like this. So the basic form of the verb is called the base form. So like walk. Walk is the base form of that verb, the verb being walk. The second form is just the S form. So like the S. So walk and walks. That's 2 forms, okay? That's why it's 5 here. So, but if you look at this, walked, 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 walking, there's only 4 because the base form has S form. That makes it 2. So there's technically 2 words over here. Walk, walks, walked, walked, walking. Okay, so the basic form of the verb is called the base form. And then there are 2 past forms, like past simple and past participle. So past simple and past participle. This word participle is a confusing word, Old English apparently, which means to participate in the meaning, giving meaning to nouns and etc. Regardless, it's confusing, but just think of it as a name of the type of the verb. So base form, past simple form, past participle form, and present participle form. So these are the 4 types of verbs, understanding that base form has S form, which is not. So, for example, walk and walks, that's 2. Walk, okay, sorry. Walked, 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 walking. For this particular verb, walk, these are the only spellings of this verb. I mean, there's no other spelling. If you read anything in English, assuming it's written properly, you never find any other spelling of the verb walked, except for what you see here on the screen, right? Can you imagine any? No, there's none. And then, for example, in eat. Eat, ate, eaten, and eating. Can you come up with a sentence with the verb eat in any different form with spelling other than these? Like, for example, he ate it. That's wrong, right? Or he eaten. That's wrong, right? So this is it. These are the only spellings of this verb. So these different spellings are called forms of verb. Now you understand these verbs can be used functionally in many different ways. They can have different meanings depending on how they are used, but these are the only forms of this verb. Okay? So walk, walked, walked, walking, eat, ate, eaten, and eating. So walk, this is the base form of this verb, and past simple form is the walked, past participle form is the walked, and present participle form is walking. Now, in this case, the past simple and the past participle happen to have the same spelling. Okay, they don't always, clearly, because in this case, the past simple and the past participle forms have different spellings. Okay, different spellings. So when they have the same spelling like this, nice spelling, predictable, that's called regular verbs, and we have different spellings like this, they're called irregular verbs, which is the next topic. So verbs can be divided into 2, okay, depending on how they form these 5 spellings. The first type of verbs are the regular verbs. Regular verbs have a pattern. In other words, you can generate all these 5 forms using a pattern. For example, accept, accepted, accepted, accepting. Now I didn't put the S form in here because it's so easy. So there's really only 4 forms. If you include the S form, then you have the 5 forms of these verbs. So accept, accepted, accepted, accepting. Add, added, added, adding. Divide, divided, divided, dividing. So you can see there's a nice pattern to these, and if somebody is given a verb, they can make these patterns very easily, and there's a regular pattern, and the pattern is pretty easy also for the past simple and the past participle, the past simple and the past participle form, you just add ed to it. And the present participle form, you add ing to it. That's pretty easy, right? That's this form. So, for example, present participle is just add ing, and for these you just add ed to it, and then there you have it. It's like a cookbook. You can come up with these pretty easily. Accept, accepted, accepted, accepting. And adding, divide, divided, divided, dividing. Now, these are regular verbs. They have a pattern. They're nice. They're comfy words, okay? Now, on the other hand, look at these verbs. These are irregular verbs. They have no pattern in the way they form these four spellings. Drink. Now, if you were to follow this pattern, you would have said drink to drink to drink, drinking. But that's not the pattern they form. The pattern they form is drink and drinks. That's the S form. Drink, drinks, drinks, drank, drunk, and drinking, right? So drink, drinks, drank, drunk, and drinking. Eat, ate, eaten, and eating. Fall, fell, fallen, and falling. See? Even among irregular verbs, there's no pattern. So drink, drank, eat, rank, or something like that. It's not like that, right? And it's not unt or something like that. So even among them, there's no pattern. All bets are off. So see, this is kind of second nature to it because we grew up with these verbs. But if somebody comes from Russia or China or something like that, and they don't know English, they would fall into the trap. They would say eat, eated, eated, and eating. They would fall right into it, like fall, falled, and falling, or something like that, right? We take it for granted that we know these irregular verbs, but if you don't know the irregular verbs, then you have to memorize them. There's no particular pattern to them. So verbs in general are divided into two categories: regular verbs, irregular verbs, based on how they form these five verb forms. Based on how they form these five verbs form. Regular ones, the nice ones. Irregular ones are the ones that give a hard time to begin to people who don't know them. Okay. Now, we're going to learn a little bit more about it with the help of Batman because there's more to learn about them. So, verb forms. So these verb forms means these are the only spellings of these verbs, okay? So here's the base form along with the S. There's two over here. Base form. It's also known as the present simple form, okay? So the present form. Base form also known as present form. Now see, we're talking about the same verb having different forms. So it's like Batman. Batman is Batman. But when he goes out, sometimes he dresses like this costume, and sometimes he wears that costume, and sometimes he wears this costume, sometimes you follow? So he wears different costumes at different times, but it's the same Batman. So same thing like here. It's the same verb, but there's different forms of the same verb. So the most basic form of the verb is called the base form or the present simple form, okay? Then there are two forms that are related to the past. They're called past simple form and the past participle form, okay? The past simple form and the past participle form. And then there's the other form, the last form, which is the present participle form. So base form and the base form with S is also known as the S form. So there are two forms represented here. And the past simple, past participle, and present participle. Okay. Now, these names are kind of cumbersome to remember, I think, at least for simple people like me, novice grammar students. So past simple, you can say, okay, that's the P1 form, the first form. They all start with P, see? So you can call this one P1 form, this one called P2 form, you can call this one P3 form, or V1 form, V2 form, and V3 form. So there's a base form, there's a P1, P2, P3. It makes it easy to remember. The P3 being the present participle, the one with the ing in it. Okay? And the past simple and the past participle with the one that end with ed and ed. Okay? So it might help you if you just understand that there are five forms of verb: base form and the S form, which is just the base form with an S. And then there's P1, P2, P3 forms. The P1 being the past simple, P2 being the past participle, P3 being the present participle. Okay? Now there's a couple of things to be noted about these. Okay? First, see, for regular verbs, the ones that have a pattern, the past simple form and the past participle form have the same spellings. Okay, that's why the Batman is wearing the same dress over there, see? Same costume. So for regular verbs, the past simple form and the past participle form have the same spelling. So walk instead walks, walk, walked, walked, walking. So the past simple and the past participle, P1, P2, past base form, P1, P2, P3, P3 is walking. So base form, past simple, and past participle form are the same spelling for regular verbs. For irregular verbs, of course, they're all different. That's what they're called, irregular. And the present participle is over here. So for regular verbs, the P1 equals P2, or past simple equals past participle in spelling. Now, the present participle one, the last form, the present participle, is the easiest of all these forms because it's the same for regular verb, it's the same for irregular verb. It's always the same. It doesn't change. And it's the easiest one to make. You just add ing. So you take any verb that you can think about, and if you want the present simple participle form, the present participle, just put an ing on it. For example, climb, climbing, eat, eating, swim, swimming, like that. You know, so it's the easiest form to make because you just add ing to it. So it's always the same for every single verb. The present participle form is the easiest one. You just add ing. So these are the 5 verb forms, and you can see there are 4 displayed here because the 5th one is easy. It's like a base form with an s on it. Okay, so the first 2 form base and the base with an s, which is called the s form. Past simple, past participle, and present simple. Okay, like that. Now we're going to take an example. So here's a verb, take. Okay, so take this for example. Okay, take. So take, took, taken, and taking. So this is a irregular verb, clearly. So because it's not take, taken, right? That's wrong. So this is an irregular verb. So take is the base form. Okay, the s form of this verb would be takes, takes. When do you use the s form anyway? Okay, we'll talk about that. So take. Okay, and then past simple is took, past participle is taken, and present participle is taking. Okay, now here's how they're used. And as an example, I take a class. I took a class. I have taken a class. I am taking a class. Okay? Now, there's no other spelling of this word, period. Okay? You cannot imagine the word take or some form of it. There's no other spelling of this. That's it. That in a way, that's kind of a good thing because then you know, that's it. It's all the different spellings of this verb, right? There are only 5. So now, but that doesn't mean that it's used in only 5 different ways. For example, I'll give you a sentence. Okay, I take a class, right? Okay, I took a class. Okay, I have taken a class. Okay, I could have said I had taken a class. Now, there's a difference between I had taken a class and I have taken a class, right? So the same verb form, but different meaning. Or I will have taken a class. Or I would have taken a class. You follow? So it doesn't mean that's the only meaning of this is how they're used. There are many different ways to use that verb, but there are only 5 spellings of that verb. Okay? Now look at this sentence I have read just to give example of. I have taken a class, right? Or I had taken a class, or I would have taken a class. So there are different meanings of the same word spelling, taken, right? Now, how do we get those different meanings? We add a second verb to it, like I have taken a class, or I am taking a class. So these are verbs, have and am. These are also verbs. Now, these verbs clarify the meaning. They help the verb express the subtleties of the meanings you're trying to express. So these are called helping verbs. So that's like Robin, ha, ha, ha. So these are called helping verbs. So that's like they help the main verbs. They're like helping verbs, right? So helping verbs clarify the meaning of the main verb. Okay, helping verb. Now, The fifth form of the verb is used exclusively for third person singular. In other words, it's used for he, she, it. Okay, he, she, it, basically. He takes a class, or he took a medicine, in this example. Okay, it's used for third person singular or the S form. For here, I take medicine, he takes medicine, she takes medicine, it takes medicine. So whenever you're using he, she, it, you use the S form. Okay. I take medicine, I took medicine, I have taken medicine, I'm taking medicine. Okay, so that's the example of the fifth form. Here are some examples of regular and irregular verbs, and before we finish, inshallah. So let's go through this. Talk, talked, talked, and talking. And the S form, talks. Talk, talk, talked, talking. That's what I'm doing right now. So this is a regular verb because it has a pattern. Compare that to have, had, having, having. No pattern there, right? So that's an irregular verb. Listen, listened, listened, listening, and listens, the S form. So that's a regular verb because it has a nice pattern. Engaged, 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 engaging, engages. That's a regular verb. Speak, spoke, spoken, speaking, speaks. That's a irregular verb. Very good. Rise, rose, rising, rising, irregular. Run, ran, ran, running, irregular. Eat, ate, eaten, eating, eats, also irregular verb. Okay, so this is a summary. So verbs can be divided into regular and irregular verbs. The regular verbs have a pattern in the way they form the four forms. They have the spellings have a pattern. So accept, accepts, accepted, accepted, accepting, add, adds, added, added, adding, and behave, behaved, behaved, behaving, and divide, divided, divided, dividing. And irregular verbs have no pattern, like eat, ate, eaten, and eating. And we have suggested that these are the only 5 spellings of the form, the base form, and along with the S form of the base, the past simple form, the past participle form, and the present participle form. And for regular verbs, the past simple and past participle forms are the same. And the present participle form is the easiest one to make for any given verb, whether it be regular or irregular. You just add ing, and that's how you make that verb. And that's it. That's verb forms and regular and irregular verbs. Inshallah, we'll continue next time more about verbs. Until then, as-salatu was-salamu ala rasulillah, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum.